welcome to Turn Zero Loss. My name is Eli, and I am here with my co-host Sherry.
Hello, I'm Sherry. I am one of the magic engineers along with my friend Eli.
So, just to give you guys like a little idea of who we are personally, we call ourselves the Magic Engineers because we personally are both engineers in profession and from educational background. I'm an electrical engineer, and kind of give you an idea of how long I've been playing Magic. Um, I started playing back in my first year back in college and have basically carried that on throughout my 5 years there and have been a dedicated fan since.
I have a weird story with like magic, how long I've been playing because I Eli got me back into it when he first got to college. Me and Eli have known each other for quite a long time now, but I had played it a handful of times. I never owned any cards. Like this was like pre Mirrodin block. I was in Boy Scouts and these I had friends that were in it and they played it, so I would play in every once in a while. So, and it was kind of weird because it was like all with the old border. So I played right then, and then never didn't touch it for like 6 years, and then I started playing in college again.
Yeah, it must have been a drastic change from pre-Mirrored and Block to that because a lot of changes in Magic between then and there.
Or maybe it was a pre new Phyrexia block. It was not original Mirrodin. It was it. I think it's like 2012 era. I would say.
Ah, okay, okay, that makes sense. It gives a good timeline on that. Yeah, we hopped in around the time of Amonkhet and the first actual like dedicated named Dominaria block. So we haven't been around super long, but we've been around long enough to see how the game has progressed, and we're both pretty well studied in the history of Magic as well. Um, an idea of what kind of players we are. I personally am a self-titled Johnny Combo player. I like to have ways to finish games fast and try to search for those ways to finish the game fast as possible. But I'm also kind of into like control play, so like being able to make sure that people's creatures don't stay on the board very long and counter their spells and kind of make sure that everyone's playing at the same pace as me, if not a little bit slower than me. I can declare myself like a kind of a power gamer, quote unquote, but I don't really lean into CDH. That's more of a too expensive territory slash too competitive for my own taste.
Yeah. I'm kind of a more complicated player in terms of like I have played as a Johnny Combo. I've played as a Spike. And then I have decks that are completely Vorthos themed, where it's not about the win, it's just about that you assemble the deck and you're actually playing with it. So I call myself a little bit of a spice of life commander player. Play a little bit of everything, but when like I actually playing like the decks that like, okay, I want to win, I'm more of like a tempo kind of control player, like that kind of stretches into mid range sometimes, but like I'm a person that's like, okay, let's set the pace, let's keep going, and then I'm usually the one that needs to be slowed down. Usually by Eli, because it's like, okay, we're at turn 6, I'm ready to make my move. Like I'm ready to see if I can take like a step towards finishing the game next turn. Then usually it doesn't quite work out that like that, but that's okay. I'm a little bit of power gamer, but
Somebody's always got an answer when you're trying to be a power gamer. They know what the kind of decks you run, and they like to try to confront you about those kinds of things and be in your face about it. But most of the time, our decks are resilient enough that we can still go off without any hitch.
or you have a new deck that they didn't know about and they assume you have like redundancy when I'm like this was just meant to be a fun deck with one combo.
There's one, there's one goal, and you ruined it. That's, my day is ruined. Um, a little bit what you could expect from this channel. We're gonna be talking about like different deck techs, some of our favorite decks that we've had, things that we've brewed together, or even brewed separately, and even like some of our design philosophies on our decks and kind of what goes into our mindset as we make a deck. We're also going to be like, commenting on some of the EDH meta. We primarily talk on EDH because that's what we're most familiar with. It's the primary format of both of us. We only have decks in those. We've been wanting to expand into other formats, but it's just the price point's too high, and we just like EDH a lot. It's a lot more fun. Um, we're also planning on diving a little bit into some interesting tech that's within EDH. So, things that you wouldn't expect to see in a deck or things that work out better than what they seem like on paper when you start looking at the different interactions between different cards. And then some other things scattered throughout, like, some of our favorite bits of Magic lore or things that really make us happy about the game of Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, because we're not always about like winning. Because I know I've lost a number of times in EDH, and but we're about like things that just make the game like better. Like we may be commander players, but we keep our ear on the modern meta, the legacy meta. Not really vintage because we can't afford vintage or we don't want to play vintage, but that's okay because no one does. Um, we're just like okay, we're like people that like want to root for the game to help maybe Wizards get to the point where it's like okay, we have a healthy game, it's competitive, everyone's having fun, there's a variety of decks, and that's what we're here to support.
Yeah, and just a huge disclaimer, based on our histories of Magic, we're not professional Magic players. We like to have fun, and we respect the game a lot, despite some personal things that we might have to say about Magic in this current format. Stickers.
You kind
um,
of coughed there a little bit. Was there something that was kind of caught in your throat, like a piece of your card, or that like came off and went down your throat?
I just we could talk about that another time, but I have a lot of personal issues with how things have been progressing with current Magic.
No, and I understand that. It's kind of hard because where we sit at in terms of like power level is like probably running at like an 8.5 sometimes. But the issue that we run into is that we look at a card and like we know enough to it's like this card's going to be expensive, but it's not going to be worth it. And then but we're like can't afford the $600 pieces to run CEDH staples and have like 20 copies across our numerous decks.
Yeah, you could say that we're highly optimized, but we're not geared towards fast mana or anything that can win us the game on like a turn one. It's highly unlikely for us to win on turn one, but uh, you know, it's happened to me once, but it took a lot of ropes and pulleys in one of my most competitive decks. On the topic of like how we build our decks really is for me personally, I like to kind of choose a commander that works into play style and kind of optimize it around that. So find some nice high synergy cards that provide a lot of interaction throughout the game, but also further the game plan for that. So, an example for me is the Chulane deck that I've put together. Just being able to kind of I hodgepodge it together, and then it's been kind of developed into something else. But we can talk about that another time. I also enjoy finding extremely meme-worthy cards to put in decks. So, like, I've built it. I haven't built it yet, but I've designed a deck called Dungeon Dice Monsters, and it is my favorite deck that I have yet to buy because the entire deck involves dice rolling, and that's it. Like, there's not really a win con per se, but it's just I roll dice, and maybe sometimes I'll win, but most of the time I probably won't.
I've seen the deck. It's most of the time, unless he gets one of those big scary monsters on the board, he's probably not like furthering his game plan to win.
Yeah, it's more of like I pull it out when I want to have fun because it's a fun deck, and when I get to announce that I'm playing a deck called Dungeon Dice Monsters, everyone gets a nice giggle because most people understand the reference to Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged, and it makes a lot of people chuckle. And I like having other people have fun at the table and encouraging other people to play the game and to have a good time.
You know, I can,
And I kind of like
I can,
finding decks and building them out of what I have available. So like going through bulk and then trying to make it fit into a deck where it probably wouldn't optimize it, but it's just really fun to find interesting cards that are on the fringe play and kind of keeping the budget around $200 for me.
That, yeah, I can attest to that. Your Dungeon Dice Masters deck is like, it's going to be really fun because we're going to play Duke Devlin's theme song behind the entire game. It's going to be great to watch people get sick of the song and then eventually all come around.
Where's that music coming from? What music?
This is just my life.
Well, what about you, Sherry? How do you go about designing your decks?
Like I start with like a design space that I want. Like, for example, like I like to take kind of like off the wall mechanics and then work my way, kind of backwards. Like I might take a commander or a card that I'm like, okay, this card is something I want to build around and see if it's possible. Like, I'll use a pretty easy example, which everyone can like get an idea of, is like a Halo Fountain deck. I would be like something like, okay, you build a deck around just trying to get tapped creatures one way or another, and then just try to work backwards and see what cards synergize with that card, and then just sort of work out and maybe hopefully find a commander that really fits it. There has been some decks where I've done that.
Yep.
And I haven't been able to find a commander for yet. But so I'm like, I have some brews in the making, just waiting for Wizards, one of Wizards' weekly commander printings to just pop out that card that needs to complete the deck.
Dude, this close. I can feel it, like almost there.
But for me, I'm like, I build a deck with the intention of like, I have like usually a goal in mind. Like if my goal is to make this a competitive deck, I start like, how am I going to finish how am I going to finish the game? I'm not saying like I want to win, but like having finality in a game is kind of like good because you're working towards a plan. You're not just aiming towards, okay, I think I'm going to try to do, let's just try to get really big creatures and then like realizing that they have no means of getting through or something like that. So like if I want like an attack strategy where I'm like, okay, I'm just attacking people constantly. I'm like, okay, these all have trample or they all have flying or whatever. And then making sure that even if it's not a combo win, it's still a regular, or it's still enough to push through and actually finish the game, not taking this out to turn 40 or taking 5 hours to play a commander game.
Yeah, 5 hours to play a commander game was not a fun experience, and I can appreciate combo wins even more now than ever because back then we were all playing like very under optimized decks, and it was such a scary experience. Six or seven people playing one commander game, it will extend it to 5 hours.
Yeah, so it's just like, I think it's part of like the service to the table that like unless you have a specific goal that's not winning in mind, like for example, like your play group allows you to have the 5 pieces of Exodia in your deck, and then you win the duel. So like a fun win. Like, that's not necessarily an actual win, but, like, just the sort of, like, fun things, or, like, you have, like, a creative, like, uncommander or something like that you want to build around that you know is not going to win, but it's just around for, like, the fun of it. If you accomplish that, it's usually good, like, or a flavor win. Like, you get, you have, like, Urza, and then you have Mishra on the same side fighting against the Phyrexians, which is pretty funny of an idea. It's not much of a flavor win, but it's like that's the whole sole goal of what I want everyone to face.
Yeah, man, that's like it's a good goal to have. Like, let people play the game, let people have fun, and also try to win the game too. Like it is a game in the end. That's good to win, you know. But we always like to say that you should let everybody have a chance at
That's
least.
true. There is one more thing I want to talk about before we finish this introductory episode. It's talking about our name, Turn Zero Loss. And so it sounds like a little bit of a, like you lost on turn 1. Like someone beat you on that very first turn, like a CEDH thing, but in fact it's the opposite. I have killed myself before I've been able to start the game using like Slaughter
Slaughter
Pact was
Pact.
the one that did it, or like any of the zero costs that you have to pay or you lose as a game. So that's what this is around. We're all about fun ways of like having a fun experience, even through not even playing. I was like, I'm taking this opportunity to do something I've never done before, and it's caused someone to lose on the first turn, and just happened to be me.
Yeah, taking yourself out of the game when you have probably like the most optimized deck, you're just like looking at it, you're like, I have a Pact of Negation. Do I Pact of Negation their Soul Ring just to lose the game and prove a point? Or do I cast a Summoner's Pact and lose the game on my turn? Let's do that. It's the best. It makes for really interesting stories that you can tell later on, and I think stuff like that really helps develop really tight knit play groups that you want to keep playing with even after you've all
Yeah,
gone
and
separate ways.
it's just about like it's having fun and kind of keeping that like competitive spirit, but in a way of just like a non-standard competitive spirit. Because sometimes that move is to remove like that specific creature, like that. Like when I slaughter packed that, I was like, man, this is like I should really do this, but I'll die in the end. But it's worth it. It's like it's not about me; it's about the rest of the table.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you all for tuning in for this nice introductory episode. The next episode will be probably a little bit longer, but we just wanted to introduce ourselves and kind of let you all know what we're about. And if you enjoyed it, make sure you like, subscribe, comment, do all the things that YouTubers ask you to do whenever an episode ends for these kinds of things. We're not looking to make money off of this, but it helps to have support.
Yep.